This goes beyond a photo op. I mean, this in itself is significant.
This is what both men will go home happy if nothing else happens today. I mean, something else is going to happen today, but I think both of them will go home having got the minimum of what they came for. President Trump has gone further than any of his predecessors, and he will spin that, he will tweet that for all it's worth. And Kim, of course, has got what North Korea has wanted for a long time. He's been taken seriously by the United States, its decades-old enemy. So whatever happens from here, unless it's a disaster, which I don't think it will be, both men have already got enough to go home and kind of declare victory to their own sort of domestic constituencies.
And for President Trump, it works for him too. It works to his people.
Absolutely.
His support base.
This is a candidate, Donald Trump, who campaigned on the notion that he was the best negotiator in the world. To his supporters, this is evidence of that. To his detractors, both not only in the Democratic Party but also within the Republican Party, that faction of Republicans, they are not sure, and they're a bit uneasy, that in that first minute of that meeting, when the president said he would be able to size up North Korean leader Kim Jong Un, that he might make the wrong judgment call, that he would commit to some type of an agreement in the short term that doesn't really benefit the U.S. from a longer-term notion. But I totally agree in the sense that this, at minimum, so far, both of these two political leaders are getting what they want. The question, I think, for many Americans going to bed this evening and waking up tomorrow morning is going to be whether or not North Korea leader Kim Jong Un got more. Because if he did, that could pose significant risk for the U.S. in terms of how it has a broader national security diplomatic relations in the region. And there's many concern that a long-term agreement of denuclearization must occur. And quickly, I would note just the events of the 8 a.m. local time hour, 8:01, the President Trump's motorcade departing the hotel, arriving at the Capella Hotel, the site of this summit, at 8:25. 10 minutes later, the president tweeting news that his senior most economic advisor, Larry Kudlow, a longtime confidant of the president, has had a heart attack. He's being treated in Walter Reed Medical Center just outside of Washington, D.C. Less than 25 minutes later, the president walking into that summit shortly after North Korea leader Kim Jong Un had arrived. And then we see the body language, the responsiveness, the smiles of these two world leaders. And now, of course, that meeting underway. We are expected to hear from President Trump himself at about 4 p.m. following local time, following the expanded delegation. One Secretary of State Pompeo joins the president, as well as Chief of Staff General John Kelly and NSA advisor, National Security Advisor John Bolton.
Richard, Kevin talked about, the impression that South Korea may get more. What is getting more? How do you define that? How would we know if North Korea got more?
Well, if there's any sense that sanctions are going to be lifted, if there's any sense that North Korea doesn't have to really give very much on its nuclear program. We don't fully know exactly what North Korea's nuclear arsenal looks like. So any sense from now on that the US is heading more, and you're likely to see real opposition, as Kevin says, domestically in the United States. We may even see John Bolton set off the smoke alarms in the middle of the meeting just to try and stop things happening, because he's one Republican who doesn't really, in his heart of hearts, doesn't really want to be here today, doesn't want this to happen. Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State, is more in the president's playbook. He's more ready to be kind of throw all the pieces in the air and see what happens. John Bolton, much more traditional, really on the hawkish wing of the Republican Party. He could burst into the room and kind of disrupt matters if it gets out of hand.
Isn't that remarkable that the president taking two senior advisors of two vastly different worldviews and bringing them together for this specific meeting?
Yeah.
I mean, we've reported on this for weeks, months even, about the differences between National Security Advisor John Bolton and the likes of Secretary Pompeo. Essentially, Secretary Pompeo trying to elbow out John Bolton from these types of negotiations. Secretary Pompeo bringing over his team from the CIA to really lead these negotiations, elbowing out his predecessor's team that was in place, former Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, who we all know had a tough relationship with President Trump, putting it mildly. So it is really remarkable that, and says something, I think, about President Trump's diplomatic style that he would bring them together for this.